Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Oh my God, folks, we are live in social media land. John Duffin here, Duffin Media. We are doing a first in terms of my podcast, Your Message Received. By the way, you see these two smiling faces? We have Bruno and Stacie Marcinkowski from the Dream Team 1. And say hello, folks.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning. Happy Thursday, right?
Out there in Streamland. Hey, guys.
Right. We were, like I said, here's what we get to do today, folks. And we wanted to give you a sneak preview, which is this. I get the chance to have back. Now I get to call them my recurring guests, which is fun. The very elite group. There's not a lot, but these two merit it. Bruno and Stacie have done so much. You probably already know a lot of the story. And so what we wanted to do today is this, remind you that we've got a podcast interview that's going to be coming up. You'll know when it's published. We will blast this. These two are absolute consummate pros in regards to making certain that you're aware. I'm not too shabby at that as well. So when we publish the full episode, you'll be the first to know. But today, we just wanted to set the table to remind you that Bruno and Stacie are literally, I think, pros as it regards to content, storytelling, and being able to share what's going on in their own lives to make certain that not only do they personally, professionally, and as a team continue to grow, but also opportunities for you to be able to follow along, me to be able to follow along, and not just take the ride, but be able to benefit too. So Bruno, Stacie, welcome here. We're thrilled that you're giving us another go here on Your Message Received.
Thank you so much for having us. We are honored to call you our friend, and we're really happy to be back for a second time.
John, thanks. Good morning. We appreciate being here as always. Thanks, pal.
Oh, I'm honored that the honor goes to me. So I'm delighted that you're both back. Hey, I had this picture in my head. So I'm actually going to go to the most forward in terms of our in-person. This sounds so like club-like, folks. So forgive me. This was, like I said, literally being around these two and their energy during the holidays. And I got the chance to be there. And I'm going to say, if we treat that and the beginning of 2024 as the beginning point, there's, oh my God, we got the dog too. Yeah. Oh my God, then it is a party. Yay, yay, yay. I love it. But here's what I was going to say, which is there's a lot of really cool parts that we now know more of. And I'm grateful to say that I know a lot more of. But I will ask you this. For the good folks here that probably already know the beginning of this story, can you give us a quick recap in regards to the two of you being together, forming the partnership professionally and personally? Whatever you want to share, feel free.
Well, we formed our partnership in 2018, I believe, where I was in business for about 4 years. Bruno was just coming into the business, into real estate, and we decided to partner up and form a team that I had been wanting to do from the beginning of my real estate career. And when Bruno and I coupled up, and we became joint forces together. We formed the Dream Team 1. We picked the name together. We really took a lot of time with that because we wanted it to be something that was life-lasting and relevant to everybody who wanted to be on our team.
Inclusive. Yep, absolutely.
I love it. I love the inclusive part. And so what I would say, and for yourselves, these are Philly natives like me. One of the fun parts, like I said, if anyone watching in Streamland here is a Philly native, give a shout out. We love it. I'm amazed to this day, regardless of where I go inside and outside of Philadelphia, how many Philly residents there are. And these, right? And these folks, like I said, are living, it's not bi-coastal because it goes north-south. I don't know what that terminology is, but I love the fact that, as I said, again, they've got a lot of different vantage points. Now, folks, here's the rub. There is so much more to this story, and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. Bruno, Stacie, and I are literally just popped on to say hello to make sure that you know that these two continue to explode. You don't need my help with that. But the fact is, we're going to continue this conversation in private. Here's the thing that you can do. Know that the Your Message Received podcast is going to keep rolling. When we publish this episode, I promise you, Bruno and Stacie are phenomenal at getting the word out. And again, as I said, I'm not too bad at this either. So we will make certain that you know. We just wanted you to be aware that we get to have these recurring guests, my friends, and you folks have a whole lot to look forward to. So, folks, we just want to say hi. Make sure that you know you got something really cool to look forward to. So we're going to continue the podcast episode first, and then we will publish the whole thing down the line. Bruno, Stacie, thank you for hopping on with me.
Stay tuned, everybody. It'll be fun.
It's going to be fun. We can't wait. All right. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Smoothie.
Hey now, folks, we are back with the Dream Team 1. Bruno and Stacie Marcinkowski and their cool dog in the background, too. Again, we're back with another episode of Your Message Received, the podcast to help you find your best, most true, authentic business voice. And look, we were talking about literally the partnership getting started. And I then send it off with, we've got a lot more to cover. We do. Bruno and Stacie are two of the coolest, funnest people that I know that have so much energy and depth. And so what I wanted to touch on is this. We're talking about forming the partnership. Let me ask you, in terms of how business has grown, changed, evolved, receded, whatever, you're adding teammates in addition, because you said, if I heard you correctly, that even picking the name, you wanted this to be a long-term deal. This was not an experiment to you. What are some of the things that, as you've grown, that you've had in mind in regards to who you choose, how you choose, the way that you choose, that sort of thing? How has that gone?
Well, it's gone really well. Of course, in the beginning, it was just Bruno and I. So, working as a couple, and Bruno just coming into the business in the very beginning, we had to work through just from me going from a solo agent to now a coupled partnership. And so for that, we had to streamline how we were going to diversify our duties as husband and wife and partners. And so we managed to excel at that the first year. So we didn't bring on any team members for the first year in business. We wanted to kind of work through our own beginning parts of it. And that seemed to be going very well. And then when, a year had passed, we had brought on our first teammate. And since then, we've grown up to 6 people to our team, including us. But we're very particular, and each year we've gotten a little bit better with, improving upon what we can add value to the team members as Bruno and I instruct and work together with our team to grow individually and collectively. And so each year we've made improvements and, things that could help us excel.
Yeah.
You want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people ask us about it. We don't recruit. We don't actually try to grow the team per se. We welcome new folks, but we like people to look for what we're doing, and we feel like that's a better connection. The other thing is, where Stacie said we didn't really get more picky. We just kind of understood some of the basics. I think that we need, when we interview folks, you have to have some data entry skill. You got to have some social media skill. You got to have some negotiating skill. So you do have to have some basics that we found. And if you're missing one or two of the major things, you can, hire a social media manager, things like that. But you can't be missing all of it. You can't be, you can't be. I don't understand word processing. I don't have Facebook. I don't use Instagram, and I've never negotiated a contract, but I want to be a realtor in my 40s or 50s. You got to have some of those basic skills. And we learned that, as we, been talking to folks.
How long was the ad at let me see if I can say the word right. Adaptivity. And I don't even know if that's a real word. It sounded good in my head at the time, but more, it was like, so I'm interested in regards to when you knew that you both were comfortable enough that you wanted to allow people in, as you just said, we don't recruit. Gotcha. And I understand that and I get it. But when did you both feel like, oh, you know what? We've got this. When would, how did that work for you? Talk me through.
Maybe never.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting question because I think each year, obviously the market changes, the relevancy changes, the, AI and all these other extra technological advantages to all of us that have to adapt and be relevant. So I think each year we continue to keep learning, but after about a year of us working together and just ironing out our compatibility and diversification in our skill sets and roles, we felt comfortable enough that we were going to kind of separate our responsibilities, since Bruno's huge skill set is in marketing, engineering, and all that creative juices for all the social media platforms. He was going to take on that creative director type of role and help and help everybody with that sort of thing. And then on my end, for training purposes, we go through the contract work and all the basics. And then collectively, we think about interesting speakers that could enhance everybody's productivity and growing and energy, because that's what our team is really about. We like the energy and cohesiveness of one another. And, the team that we have now really has all that. So we mesh really well.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on that, they have let's call it the corporate real estate brokerages, the big names.
Right.
Then there's more guys doing some mom and pop stuff. I think we're friends with a lot of them. You guys know a lot of them. And then there's the Dream Team One. We're just a little less than the mom and pops, we like to be a little family owned and operated, delicatessen down in South Philly kind of vibe. You come in and you have the mom cooking meatballs, and we do our meetings at our dining room table, and the team comes over.
We just did vision boards, so we just did a vision board.
My Marianne will come. Everybody knows she's part of the Dream Team One. She feeds everybody. We try to keep it family, the family vibe, and I think it reverberates through our sales.
Right. Oh, you feel it. But here's the thing I'm curious about. How are you, like I feel like in terms of a trust thing. So you're a family and Marianne's going to feed, and I've been lucky because you've allowed me inside, so to speak. And that's a big deal to me and a privilege. But I would also think the first time that couldn't have been really easy. How were you able to navigate in the sense that we're family, because you are, you know what I mean, to creating a family atmosphere for someone who's not technically family?
So that's interesting. We really enjoy the differences of opinion and different types of people. You have to be open-minded to how diverse our country is in thought. And I think Stacie and I, we're religious. We have a certain way of doing things. But that doesn't mean that, folks that are agnostic and don't do things aren't welcome at our table. And I think you've had a front row seat to some of that, John.
I absolutely want to head there. I love that. Folks, like I said, so that we don't make it such an insider's club, I'm willing to, like I said, open the door a little bit as well, too. So Bruno, the first time, and met is a weird choice of terms here, but the first time I met Bruno and Stacie, so to speak, was watching them on another podcast. So they were the ones that were doing all of the sharing, and I'm just sitting there staring and watching and eating popcorn. You know what I mean? And thinking, oh, this is interesting. Here's what I remember. Folks, as again, when you know that these cool people are recurring guests, we've covered a little bit of this, so I get it. But I feel like some of it is worth and worthy of being covered a second time. So to me, the differences, you just identified some of those things. I remember almost being it didn't come off, let me just say it, as the typical sort of, certainly not real estate podcast, and the hosts of that podcast Chad Naxon and Emilio DeChico, two people I love to death.
Oh,
And
great.
as you were watching it, cheers to both of you. But Bruno and Stacie were coming from opinions and perspectives, bringing up topics that are not typical. And by the way, and I'm not as in 100% agreement with those schools of thought. What gave you the foundation and the courage, so to speak, to be able to share that outside?
So, John, you and I, we talk deeply about a lot of deep subjects, and I feel like a lot of us are belted with so much information, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, you could get information from a million sources in a second.
Right.
Your phone's notifying you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Stacie and I, you make the old adage, you're in the Uber drive, you're in an Uber, and a lot of times it's people from other countries and things. Stacie and I enjoy those talks.
Right.
You like to hear and gather your information firsthand, and I think in this world of such quick information, I think it's imperative when, you don't understand something or you don't know about something, to gather as much firsthand information, not, an anonymous source or, an unpopular news source or what have you, so we try to really get from the horse's mouth, John.
I love that. And I think one of the things that I found so interesting, so I'm watching this episode and topics like God are coming up and I'm like, well, and politics are coming up and I'm all like that. But here is the difference. And this is where folks, like you talk about authenticity, this whole platform has to do with people's arc to authenticity and the ability and the benefits thereof. So this is what I find and why I care so deeply in regards to being aligned with Bruno and Stacie is their own authenticity. So here is where a direct example of what you can do with that. I'll go with the good one first, and then I'm going to give you the bad one that didn't involve you. That didn't involve you at all, right? So I was just going to say 2 ways that you could get information and use it. So one of the things that changed, Bruno and Stacie and it started with Bruno, we're having very in-depth conversations. Bruno just alluded to that. As a result, I can't remember what prompted me or why I needed to follow up, or was Bruno that followed up with me. I really don't remember. But what I do remember were we were having Monday morning conversations, and I laughed at because it felt so good, right? And we would cover some really deep, in-depth things: religion, politics, I vote, I like, you vote, you like, I believe this, you believe, right? And so here's what I'm learning and continue to learn, which is this. It's just the ability to allow people to listen. And this sounds, my God, so Pollyanna, but really for myself, selfishly, it's like, if you don't have these conversations, you're missing out on a lot.
That's right.
Really missing out on a lot. So what I guess really, and then I'll give you the bad example in a moment that I learned, and thank God I don't do that anymore. I'll just give it. So the other example was this. I remember shutting people out and down, literally from Facebook posts.
Sure.
Hiding behind social media. Folks, try not to. Listen, I'll speak for me. I did it. So I don't want to act like all judgy here. But I did it. And I would literally shut people down. You vote for X, blah, right? Honest to God, I would have cheated myself out of some of the best relationships I have if I had continued that stance.
And what I think, for good or bad, social media can be used in a very positive source.
Right.
But I think, we've changed a lot in a society where we could all be friends and have differences of those types of views and still have intelligent conversations where there's no arguments or shutdowns or ignorance to each other's, opinions. And I think somewhere along the line, social media probably has some positive and negative impact to that because we have so many other sources of knowledge coming through that can either taint people's minds instead of having a more positive outlook on respecting other people's opinions. And I think we've lost that as a society. And we need to start getting it back because, you know, we went through a lot of courses of changes with the pandemic and shutting down. And, you know, I think when things got opened again, I think something changed in some of us. And I think we need to get that back.
Yeah. Listen, for this whole conversation, I have two statements. One,
right.
Michael Jordan was being, I forget which war, maybe the Gulf War. He was being badgered about an opinion on the Gulf War, and wouldn't stop. And they said, "What do you think about the Republican? I can't believe the Republican Party, this, that." Michael Jordan turned around in one sentence. He stopped the whole conversation. He said, "Republicans buy sneakers too."
Right.
That's what he said. You know, and to your point, John, you know, if we didn't listen to conversing opinion, we would be missing 50%. The country's 50-50. We would be 50%. We would be missing 50% of that love and that compassion and those ideals and that education and all those things. And the other thing on social media, just quickly, is a little bit of a debate. I didn't always say this, but I do now. If we don't ever really block folks on social media, we're very like to hear all the dissenting opinions. But there is that 1% that I've changed my opinion on. If you have certain people on your timeline that ruin your day, and you know who I'm talking about, it's different for everybody. It could be a dog walker. It could be somebody that, you know, you can unfollow them for 30 days. Don't, you know, allow people to ruin your peace. You know, if they're just constantly doing things that just really ruin your day, you don't have to block them, but maybe give them a 30-day. They don't see it. Because you do control your feed and you want it to be a fun time when you log on. So you don't want to get triggered the minute you wake up in the morning, you know?
Energized, productive, fun. Love the choice of words, by the way. Exactly. But you think of the power. So what I found is, so we've had a lot of conversations. Bruno and Stacie both have allowed me. Here's one of the coolest things. The whole point of the podcast, your message received, God, is simply that allow your intended message to be heard. So, folks, one of the reasons it's so important for me to continue to have a powerful relationship with these two is because of that. So what I want to ask you from a business perspective now is this. So as you bring people in, as you were saying, we're up to 6 now, right? What is that like for the two of you? Not just in perspectives and opinions, not just in terms of the tech and results, but what is it like to manage a growing team with different people, vantage points, whatever, right? What's it like?
You know, we love it. I personally love each and every one of our team members,
right,
in their each and own unique way. We are all different. And we all come from different backgrounds from our previous careers and existing careers.
And neighborhoods and all that. Right.
And neighborhoods and places where we grew up and different countries that, you know, you lived. And so we have such a fun diversification from all of us that, you know, everybody has a different skill set too. So the way that, you know, we train one person is different than when we train somebody else because they compute things a little bit different. Some people are more tech savvy than others. And so Bruno and I really, I think, excel with finding where those strengths and weaknesses are and honing in on improving on the weaknesses, and then it's sharpening your strengths to improve yourself, to excel yourself to the next level. And so we're finding that each team member, they're like my little babies. I don't have kids,
got it, right?
Babies, but I love them all. And I love to see each one of them grow. And, you know, this year, Kim was just featured in the Rising Star.
Amazing.
How about it? Oh, from our friend Josh Buckner, Beth Williams of Realtors Magazine. Boom.
Yes. And I remember when I was first nominated by Bill Kratz back in 2018, it changed my whole perception of what I thought and could do. I don't know if it's something triggered in my belly, but I know that when you get nominated for something like that, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
if you're watching, go ahead, Bruno. I'm sorry.
On the wonkier end of it, you know, Stacie,
whatever end, I like it.
Yeah. So Stacie, what when I first started talking with Stacie about this, she was always a solo agent, and Stacie not having sales experience, this was her dream, and all I did was help her realize it. I could say this, that all of our training is done by hand. We don't have an Ignite class or a mastermind class.
Sure.
We're doing one-on-one training. So as we do slowly grow, people get one-on-one time with all of our tech skill, all of our social media skill, all Stacie's contract work. So they are getting a good training from us, but there is some cool stuff coming in our very near future. We definitely have some exciting news coming in the next couple of months, God willing, so
I'm so
something brewing, and
well, then we're gonna keep setting the intentions. But I want to ask you, like, I just saw some, by the way, folks, if you're watching this as opposed to listening, then you're going to know what I'm saying. But these two, first, you watch Stacie literally get emotional as defining the team. I've heard these other organizations refer to big box and what have you. You don't always get that. So the fact of the matter is, as you said, we don't have Ignite and you don't have Bold, but you do have that. Not to mention the cool T-shirts that I'm seeing on the Dynamic Duo today. We rise
by lifting others.
Boom. See, that's big, because that's one of the things I was curious about. Like, how did you go from we're a married couple, now a business couple, to being able to do that? I think you just answered the question. The generosity, the kindness. Folks, you don't know this, but I was going to say one of the things, when Bruno Stacie and I spoke last night, prior to, they're buttoned up people, and I love that. We were talking, I had the foundation for this episode to me was a visual, and it was a couple of visuals. And one of them was, we just brought up Josh Buchter and Real Producers. We were sitting at an event, a lot of realtors at a golf tournament, literally a couple years ago. Right? I guess 18 months ago, something like that. And I remember, look, here's the thing, a small team and a powerful team that has also gone through a lot. And one of the things that I needed to get clear, because I didn't want to just throw this on Bruno and Stacie, was the fact that you've endured a lot in terms of not just helping other people, but you had to literally climb out of some rough situations. So over the last couple of years, and come through the other side. Can you talk us through a little bit, literally, about Florida, about the home and the strength? Like, where the hell did you find it to get to the other side?
You want me to start?
So, last year, first I'm going to preface with, we want to just take a second for everybody down in Southwest Florida, Cape Coral. A year ago, Hurricane Ian, went through Southwest Florida and destroyed it, Mayfair, and coming from Port Richmond, we weren't built for this kind of stuff, So let's make a piece out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Hurricane Ian hit September 27th of 22, right on Bruno's birthday, actually. 28th officially, but it started circling around. So the 28th, it came in like a force of nature. Mother Nature wanted Cape Coral and Fort Myers and the surrounding areas, and it took it by major storms. So, we fortunately, we were up north because we were celebrating my father's 80th birthday. So we were not there, but we do have very close friends that live there permanently. And we had been in touch with them throughout the beginning stages of this. And then when it got more severe, it reached just about a Cat 5, 147 mile winds. Anybody who knows those winds, our docks and decks are not made for anything really past like a Cat 3. So for that to happen, our town was underwater, boats were all over the place, and it came in like a force of nature. So it took us by storm. We lost contact with our friends. So then we were just hopeful that they got to somewhere safe. And before we could even get in touch with them, which was days later, at least 3 days later, 4 days later, when electricity was semi back on, we were able to secure and make sure that some of those folks were safe. Unfortunately, there are people that did not make it out of Sanibel and other areas that we had losses for. And so that devastation was something that we've never, ever incurred. We lost our entire house. Our friends and family and whoever lives down there.
They lost everything.
They lost everything. And
we were blessed that, we had a second home, but we have a lot of friends and neighbors down there that didn't. And, it's not really the news's job to continue the story, but it is our job for the folks and the businesses and everybody that lost everything down there, so as we still, try to rebuild, we're going on a year and a half now. And on the positive note, we're looking in the next month or so to be getting back down there. And Fort Myers and Cape Coral and these areas have really come back strong. And we don't put a lot of that on social media, John. We don't really. We're going to put a lot of posts up about the house being done and the comeback of Cape Coral. And my wife and I, and my mother-in-law and our family, and what it's like to lose everything, because we were going to be moving there, mostly full time. We'd be back and forth, obviously. Yeah. So all of our clothes were there. Everything we owned was there because we were only up here visiting at the time.
We did visit the location, but we weren't able to even fly in for at least 5 days later. And we had to fly in through Fort Lauderdale because Fort Myers was completely shut down. Driving through was heart-wrenching. We pulled up our street and we just lost it. So we really couldn't stay there for too long because it was so sad. But we collected ourselves. We just said, we know we want to keep this home because we love it.
And that was the big thing what Stacie just said right there. We set the goal. We had to make a hard decision because insurance, God bless Cape Coral and Lee County and our contractors, our adjusters. I mean, they really did a great job. Obviously,
volunteers.
It doesn't pay for everything, but we made the decision to keep the home as hard as it's been. And that's been our goal for the last better part of 2 years, was to come back north. And all our friends, families, and colleagues, the Dream Team won, and the real estate community. Everybody rallied around us, and we'll be setting foot back in that house in the next 30 to 45 days. And it was a massive effort from some great friends and family and colleagues.
Friends, family, contractors, adjusters, friends down there that would check in, and then us checking in on them that were living there, and just
the real estate community. If we needed anything, our real estate partners down in Florida, our real estate partners in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, everybody, has chipped in one way or the other to help us, get this back on the map for everyone. So we're excited. We are excited, and we're ready to go. John, we wanted to thank you for asking that, because Stacie and I haven't really talked about this in public, so we got a little emotional when we brought it back up. So,
I'm grateful for the emotion. I'm grateful for the acknowledgement, but here's really why I asked, which is simply this, that it is one thing to be able to carry on, to be able to be positive, to be able to be inspirational, as I really believe the two of you are, when you're having good days and when the business is growing and when I'm up plus 40 and plus 50, and folks, you may understand this too, that you're not always having the best of days. Here's the exact opposite of a best day, right? And a lot of best days. And meanwhile, things are still moving. So you're able to show the emotion. Thank you, by the way, because that to me is necessary. But there was only two questions I thought of first off, which was, number one, why? We set this intention. We're going to keep this house. Why did that matter so much?
It was something that we really worked hard for, and we really love the community. We absolutely love where we live. We've met so many wonderful people, and our house was just like our little sanctuary, our little paradise,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for us.
And
Yep.
I have to say, who would have thought that a girl from from Port Richmond and a guy from Mayfair would have a house that's minutes from the Gulf of Mexico? You know, when just 4 years ago we were living on Belgrave Street together. You know, and you know, we came together and we had goals to be in Florida, to retire in Florida someday.
Yeah.
And we realized those goals just much faster. And we loved working between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. We really love being in all 3 states. We love them all.
So we made that decision that, you know, listen, there's things that are out of our control, out of everybody's control. And the only thing that we can do is we did know that we were able to keep the house. It was just basically cinder at that point. But it didn't have to be knocked down. And so we said, we want to push forward. We love this location. We love where we live. And we want to get back to its whole state and make it better than it ever was. And so from there, we went back. We said, we're determined. You know, obviously 23 was challenging for a lot of people. Things changed. It's like, you know, all that cyclical stuff that goes on. And we still stayed strong. And we remained positive. We just worked hard and said, we're gonna push through this because we want the end result to be our brand new home again.
John, true. And I put this on Facebook the other day, Stacie, like true gratitude. You said it. Isn't just when you're doing great. We were grateful that we even had the opportunity to rebuild the house. We were grateful that FEMA was available for us and that our insurance was available and contractors were available. You know, so we were grateful, even though it was the hardest year of our life. Even that, and I'm going to finish with this, and you can leave with this.
Please.
But it was one of the best. It was one of our best years. 2023 was one of me and Stacey's best year, even though financially and maybe with investments, it was our hardest year.
So here's my question to you, for both of you, right there, which is this. Walk me forward in regards to, and we made this determination and we worked really hard. How'd you do it? Like, what would you say the things that you feel that you can identify? You identify the people, you identify the mental determination. How were you able to do it and come through the other side? Because I think that is such a blow away positive situation. And I literally see the smile on Stacey's face. And it's like, to me, it's like, so really, what are a couple steps that you did that you feel great about? That it's like, you know what? And now we're a month or two away.
So a couple of things that come to my mind is, and, you know, my mom, we're all here together, right? So we know the ins and outs of everybody's business. And one thing my mom always says to both of us, and we practice regularly anyway, but if there's something you're worried about and you put it in God's hands, leave it there and he'll do the rest. So we did that.
We had faith, is what Stacey said.
That everything was going to push along okay. We were strong. Because we're not weak people, we're not sad people, even though I'm right now, I'm not sad. But I think we like to think of ourselves that, you know, we both have overcome obstacles throughout our lives individually and then as a partnership, and to have one another that are strong, better together. You know, we keep ourselves up. Now, granted, there's been a lot of challenges and things that pop up and delays in construction and all those things. And we have to, you know, compartmentalize those because you can't worry about every single thing every single day because you'll drive yourself nuts and your head's going to be too gobbled up with all those things. So we kind of just worked in.
On the journey, you know, if it's, you know, trying to pass your high school exam or try to rebuild your home in Florida, you're going to fail a lot. I mean, we failed a lot at what we've did this year, a lot of failures, you know, as we learn, you know, we found damage in spots and we didn't have a footer in a certain place and things that we have to do, you know, so we failed a lot of ways, a lot of things. but we knew that the journey was going to have a lot of failures. And me and Stacie, like she just said, kept pushing against each other to keep those failures and to keep our eye on the goal, and not see as a failure as the task failed.
Yeah.
One small part of the task failed. We had to redo or redesign something, go back to the drawing board, which we did many a times. And now we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, John. Really
it was just perseverance. You know, the wherewithal. We like to think outside of the box. If we're being challenged in one way, we like to then react in a way that's is going to make us stronger in some other ways that is lacking. We have a couple of those other things that have already been brewing.
One of those is fitness,
and one of them was fitness. Getting our diet together, our mind and body a lot healthier, because a healthy mind and body can really fend off a lot of the stress that you have that's underlying, you know, that you don't think about every day, but it's there sitting and weighing on the back of your head. So, you know, when we go there, we're able to, you know, breathe out and get those stressors out, have fun together. We play basketball and go to hot yoga and all those things.
Stacie really hit on something there.
Big difference.
Yeah. One of the things that, our mutual friend, Chad Naxon, everybody had a hard 2023. So a lot of us, you included, were staying connected so that we could keep each other moving through a tough time. 8% interest rates, and everybody knows that jargon. So I said to Chad, Chad, you know what makes some of these great people, Tony Robbins, a Grant Cardone, or whoever you guys follow, it's not what, it's not having a bad time. It's what do you do during that bad time? And me and Stacie said to each other, if we're not going to close our regular amount of transactions this year, what are we going to do with that extra time? You can only find so many buyers and so many listings. And once we were maxed out on our lead gen and things like that, what could we do better? And that's where the healthy living and the healthy lifestyle came from.
Really, I want to lean in here, because this is the part to me that is it. So you two both have transcended and added in regards to, I don't think of you as, oh yeah, they're the realtors. No offense, because you are, and you're great, and I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to swerve from that. It matters. It's your leaders, your team leaders. And so this is big in terms of, when rates come down and inventory is up, it's all great. But I think you just nailed it, which was the part where my thought leaders, my top three are Brendan, Mel, and then I would say Tony third. But they're there in the top three: Brendan Burchard, Mel Robbins, Tony. You know what I mean? They're my current top three, and I go back and lean into them. Dave Scatchard, I've worked with personally, so I would put him right at the top of that list too. I say it because the point that I felt like, oh wow, that's it. We have all this extra time. What the hell are we going to do? And a lot of people. We all make choices. We don't all make good ones. So, folks, if you're seeing it, you're looking at two very, very fit people, and you don't need that described. If you're just listening, take my word for it. They are. Bruno and Stacie have both made serious physical transformations that have also embodied, I feel like, the glow and the energy. So, what'd you do?
Well, we only have a few minutes, so we will say that if any married couples, or if anyone, and I talk a little abrupt, most people know me, I considered being fat a disease. I considered it, and I don't like to compare it to other illnesses, because other illnesses have their own challenges, but like alcoholism and other things, you could argue that obesity and overeating is just as deadly as some of these other things. And we would love to come back and talk more about it in a whole show, John, because
why don't we do that?
Yeah, because Stacie and I, we were the joke. We were the ones that made the jokes, eat out 21 times a week. We're on the road with real estate all the time. Real estate's a lifestyle, espresso martinis, we made those jokes, but meanwhile, the joke was on me and, indirectly my wife as, my health deteriorated, So, we implore folks, if they ever want to reach out to talk about what we went through, we do share it because, I was on a bunch of medications, high blood pressure medicine, cholesterol, everything. And, we work through it naturally, and I make the joke right off the shelves of Acme. And that's the short version. But my mother-in-law is now involved. Stacie's been involved. And it takes a village, no different than, John, I know you had some battles years ago with alcoholism. I know you didn't do it alone.
Major.
I didn't do this alone, John,
No.
and my family, I started out doing it, but my family rallied around me. They support it, how hard, my drastic changes. My wife watched me in 1 year stop drinking, basically cut my meat intake down to 30% of my meals. Again, the no drinking. This was massive changes on my family.
Yeah.
So he's transformed. He's down about 85 pounds. That was
exactly 85 pounds, folks.
85 pounds. And so he was in a 54 suit and he's in a 44 suit now. And he's in a 33 pant. So, I don't think he's ever been this thin.
Oh, what the coolest part of that is, and I'm not currently, but the coolest part of that, by the way, is so when you walk into a clothes store, they have 9,000 size 33 pants. So really, the world is your oyster.
John, but stay on that thought, John.
Blue and the gray one when I am size, and I'll speak for me, that it's like, okay, there's 2 over there, sir, as opposed to the 49 choices. I love that.
Stay on that thought for a minute, John. Again, and I don't mean to use this language for other folks, and I'm not a doctor. Me and Stacie do not give medical advice. We always like to preface with that. We just created some things that work for our family. That when you're that heavy, 75% of the world is closed to you. I was a size 13 shoe. Now I'm an 11 and a half. When you're over 12, 75% of the sneakers and shoes are not fitting you.
Shoes too?
Absolutely. So
I didn't know that.
Pants, you go over a size 40 pant, 80% of the clothing is no longer going to be for you. So, you're shut when you're a heavy, obese person, you're missing so much of the world that everybody else has access to, so, we're trying really hard to help folks with that, because we know how busy you are.
And naturally, and you feel better. Like Bruno said, I mean, these are all off the shelves of regular grocery stores. We have Acme around the corner. We shop right from there. We go on a weekly basis. And when you have like someone, you don't always have someone going with you, but I mean, we make it like on our Monday thing. We get set for the week. We go to the gym in the morning, go to the food store, come back and start our week. And then, it helps us, stay on track with eating the right way, getting up and going to the gym, and just having those 2 things in our lives now that are on a daily. And it's actually, it's a no-go for us to not do this now. So we used to make real estate an excuse for us not exercising every day because our schedules were also scattered and this and that. And it was the wrongest thing we could have ever did. So, I implore people to, try to get that more, if it's not in your life right now, to try to incorporate it, because it really does make a world of difference.
Yeah. And if Stacie and I can do it, anyone can do it, because we were the opposite of it. We were the ones making the jokes. We made networking part of our lifestyle, where we were picking where we were going to eat as soon as we woke up. And we worked really hard to learn more about it, and we still enjoy our lives. I eat steak and shrimp, and Stacie still enjoys her glasses of wine. She just drinks sugar-free wine. We just do things a little bit differently now, because we want to live to be 100. Now that's our goal, to live to be 100 and bring as many people with us as we can.
So if I heard you correctly, then, and I don't want this to sound like some infomercial, folks, but I was about to, but I was going to say that you said 2023 was probably our best year ever. And there's a lot of transformative things. What is it that you would like? You've got something you've got several things you've hinted at in regards that are coming in the next month or in the next couple of months. And you talked about the home in Florida, why it mattered and what it's going to be like. In your minds, what's it going to be like when you say hello again to that home?
Wow.
Well, it's gonna, oh my God, it's gonna be such a breath of fresh air. I was never so happy to see drywall go back up. So to see the whole house transformed again and us walk in, because it will be a lot different because we've added certain things and certain uniqueness to what
Yay.
wanted to see it on the flip side of that. So we turned some negatives into positives. And yes, people did say it could be your own, your own vision now. And our house, we bought it as a renovated house and it was beautiful. But the fact that we are now putting our stamp on the entire property, both inside and out, and the extensions and everything that we added, which was all of our,
and let me interrupt.
taste.
I got to just say, and I'm going to put this for our friend Lewis Jones.
Okay.
And down there, our adjuster. I can't name everybody, but Lewis Jones from L&J Contracting, Construction. He's a guy that we met down there, and him and his wife, they're like a real estate contractor team. He has about 100 jobs open in Cape Coral, and he has been. We're 1,100 miles away. He hugged my wife. We had a budget. Obviously, we're well over budget, but that was our doing. He gave us a number to get this job done over a year and a half ago.
Right.
I got to tell you, he hugged my wife and he said, Stacie, I will put this house back together for you for that number. With inflation and everything else.
Sure. Right.
There's some bumps in the road. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't been flawless, but he's really held his word. And we're 1,100 miles away. We had to shout him out because he takes our calls morning, noon, and night, text messages back and forth. And you got to realize he's doing permitting, engineering, building, subcontracting, so it's been really great. And he's waiting for our insurance monies, and we put a lot of money up, but he's been very patient. I had to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I love that you did. I'm honored to hear that. Hey, speaking of honored, like I said, so I wanted to hear the way that you felt like walking in the door, folks. One of the things that I had to do, and this I already alluded to it, was maybe a month ago, two ago, based on when we have this up and running, that I could still remember the glow, the joy, the happiness of walking into Bruno and Stacie's home, and and the dog too. Sorry. That was rude on my part. I'm sorry. But it really was a glowing, joyous family affair. And that to me was the framework as to why I wanted to have Bruno actually set this in motion, thank God. But why I wanted it to be now is because it's the sense that you can get through the other side. There are, like I said, you can, and that's not to point fingers or judge other people, but it is possible because I watched it and I watched the reaction. Folks, as you're building your team and rebuilding your life and getting over to the other side, what right now would be the sort of thing that you like? What message would you like to convey to people in terms of you post, socialize constantly? But what would be something that you would like to share or say to help somebody also take that first or next step to get to the other side?
So there's a couple of memes that come to mind that were the opposite of. So, there's certain ones you'll see me and Stacie put up that we just totally disagree with. The man who walks alone, comes out a warrior, that kind of speak, we totally disagree with that. It takes a village. Folks, Stacie and I had the hardest, best year of our lives in 2023. But it wasn't without the village. Folks like you, John, our colleagues, my mother-in-law, Stacie's family, my family, the contractors down in Southwest Florida, God, who you believe in. You have to let people know. Nobody knows your struggles if you hold it inside. So we just let people know if you're having a hard time, call us, call your friends, let your families know, because they may be treating you in a way when you're really down and out and you're wondering why, and they just don't know.
They just don't know.
We're all busy, and you have to reach out. You have to reach out. That's the one thing I would say.
And try to for instance, we did have a hard year, but we took some of those challenges and we tried to make lemonade out of lemons. Because those things we can't control some of those things. The things that we can control, then there's no excuses to change those things in your life. So and get rid of the negativity. So we try to stay as positive as possible. Like we said, nobody really knew the extent of anything that was going on in Florida, and it wasn't promote it because
Right.
we don't really believe in all of those things. We just want to put it back to whole. So that was up to us. We're really good at like honing in and pushing each other. Like if somebody else, if one of us is down on one day, the other one can, pick him up and say,
Sure.
Listen, we got this.
And the converse of that, John, is we hold each other accountable. We hold each other accountable, and we tell each other no and yes. You have to be able to hold your partners accountable. If I'm having a lazy day and I didn't ask for a lazy day, my wife tells me, let's go. If she's, doing the X, Y, or Z, or I want to get to the gym, I say, Stace, let's go. That's not an insult. You're not hurting someone's. Stacy's not hurting my feelings if I'm having an off day. She's trying to get you ready. You have to take that as promotion, not demotion.
Love. One last question for now. By the way, you answered the second question, which was when you said we'd love to come back someday. And typically I will ask only select people, will you come back? Yeah. And I am asking you that. So the answer is a hard yes on my part. Here's the last question for now, which is this. How would you define authenticity as it relates to you?
Okay. I could say with certainty, we show it. That's one thing that maybe not define it, but we show it. It's a hard definition. I'm sorry, baby.
Yeah.
I got you.
No, I mean, I agree. We're not fake people. We are very real. What you see is what you get from us. We're not. We're positive people.
Yeah. Facebook holds you accountable. People think that Facebook is a joke and it's, this and that. And it's for political arguments and sports debate, which is fine. But if you use it the way we do as a journal, we're journaling every day, and when those yearly things pop up, we want them to be reminders, So it's important to put things out into the universe. And you hear us talk about this all the time, because what you put out in the universe, it comes back to you. And that's why we enjoy the definition of authenticity. There isn't a verb of it.
No.
You are who you are. And Facebook and who you are in real life shows it. And we try to really give people an insight of who we are, to what Stacie had said.
I know this sounds so, again, poetic. That might be one of my favorite answers to that question. It just is. So, by the way, with two of my very favorite people, keep that up there, Bruno, please. We rise by helping others. I absolutely acknowledge to the hilt Bruno and Stacie Marcinkowski. We know that we will find you on Facebook and Instagram, and those links will be in the bio. Anywhere else you want me to send people?
No, but don't be afraid. We're on Instagram and we have our website, but don't be afraid to reach out to us. We love talking to new folks, and it doesn't have to be about finance. It could be about working with your partner every day. It could be about it could be about anything you want.
We have found just one last thing. Through all this and Facebook, we've met some of the most amazing people that we haven't met in person yet, but we have met through Facebook first that are not in the state. We're hoping to meet some of these folks that live in that have houses in Cape Coral and other areas, other things that we've developed relationships and helped each other through some of these hard times, because this other person of mine
use social media for good.
Yeah. And so we've been going back and forth, and people that were having a hard time, we've really connected and bonded over those things. So it doesn't have to even be, reach out to people all over the place, because everybody's story is pretty interesting. Yep. And so if people really treated social media as to meeting new people and learning.
It's today's Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get to meet people all over the world.
From Mayfair to Port Richmond to global to Florida to global, we keep meeting people. God, now I am bringing my Philly back. We keep meeting people. We rise by lifting others up. Bruno and Stacie Marcinkowski, love you both. Thank you both for showing up for me.
Too. Thank you.
Brilliant. Now, folks, you've just heard another episode of Your Message Received. Again, the home for your arc to authenticity. Who can embody it better than these two, huh? Keep watching, liking, sharing. We'll keep driving content through your front door. There you go. Easy for me to say. John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and we will talk soon. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.